G'day there tankers, Dr. Ferd here. Welcome to the second episode of Blitz Tactics, the series where we talk about teamwork, strategy, tactics and gameplay, without any purple of respect, ego posturing. Episode 2 is called Lost Flank. It's a tier 6-7 battle on a lost temple. The West team is shown on the left. It has a tier 7 top tier tune of medium tanks, and at tier 6 3 Soviet heavies, a Soviet TD and a Victory. The East team on the right also has 2 tier 7 mediums, 2 tier 6 mediums and 3 tier 6 heavies, giving this team an overall speed advantage, while the West team holds all the cards with firepower. 4 of the East tanks roll out with a wide flank, while the KV-1S elects to go straight to his doom alone. VK-3601H takes up a position threatening the cap. The KV-1S is eliminated rapidly but manages to spot most of the West team. At the onset of hostilities, the VK is under crossfire near the rock. The M4A3E2 has spotting and fire positions in on the West team in and around the cap, while the flank is yet to reach the western side of the map. Team West undertakes a more standard rollout into the pagoda area, taking control of something like 3/4 of the entire temple area. At the moment after the KV-1S is eliminated, the rollout makes the first initial meaningful contact, spotting the M4 near the bridge area at F5. The disposition of the West team is in control of most of the area around the pagoda, with sightlines on the cap and into the hills with the bridges. When the real shooting starts, the teams are arrayed like this, and the battle plays out with the following pattern. The VK takes up a defensive position but is under crossfire from the T150 and the KV-13 for most of the match. The SU-100 operates in this section during the game, while the Comet chooses not to push out into crossfire but backs off into a safer area, while the West T150 moves in up to the entrance area to keep the VK in place for most of the game. While the east flank is continuing, the West team skirts the pagoda area. The Victory moves up to defend the cap entrance but then responds to a call for help toward the west. The flank moves into position next to the western entrance of the temple area, with eventually 3 tanks positioning for that move. The game-deciding firefight breaks out at the D2 entrance to the temple. The outcome of the firefight is determined by the West team bringing 4 guns to bear into the conflict. Their use of hard cover, repositioning behind that, and focus fire make this a short engagement. The final moves include the M4 moving into the temple area to help, and the Panther being finished off in one of the gullies. Gameplay footage is recorded from 2 tanks on each side. The West team is shown on the left, and the viewpoints are subtitled so that you can keep track of which tank is which. The West team heads for the temple and pagoda area, while most of the East team heads left on a wide flank. Around about now, the East team start to notice that their KV-1S is headed straight into the temple area. They tried to dissuade him from such activity, but he decides to go full potato anyway. He's only got the stock gun, so it would have been largely ineffectual in this game regardless. Perhaps he just wanted a spotting medal. The East VK has made it to the temple entrance and has seen targets light up, but the crazed KV-1S has gone down and now turrets are starting to point in his direction. This game was recorded before we could shoot through objects and do damage, so this shot's ineffectual. The West T150 moves into position near the entrance, while the eastern flank is still developing around the southern region of the map. Moving into position, the West T150 brings the VK under crossfire, so he backs up using the rock for hard cover. At the same time, the Victory is moving into support when the flank is noticed approaching. Swinging right, he makes a big contribution to the battle. There's a lot of simultaneous action in the replays at this point, so I've split up the timeline to show what happens at the western entrance first. As the Cheery and T-150 approach, they met first with the Comet, the other West T-150, the West KV-2, and finally the West Victory. You may want to watch this sequence a couple times. The Victory makes a great target selection decision. The damaged Cheery attempts to back out, but it's too late. The T-150 is designated as the next target, and the application of focus fire from 4 tanks onto 3 leads to the demise of 3 East tanks within a 30-second period from the T-150's first shot. Meanwhile, back at the Rock, the VKs had a torrid time under the crossfire of 2 very large guns. The West T-150 moves out, exchanging fire for the killing blow. And with the flank evaporating to the west, the score soon becomes lopsided. T-150 turns its attentions to the Panther, which we haven't seen in the fight so far, although he may well have had shots in on the flank in support. The T-150 designates the Panther, and the West team coming out of the defensive area capture him in a pincer movement. And with that, the East only has the M4 left and the battle is over.
Enemy is hit.
So let's have a quick post-game review of how this unfolded. In very general terms, the obvious features of this game are the East team attempting to use their speed to get around the flank of the West team, which set up in the temple area using their larger guns' slower mobility to dominate this entire area. Indeed, they commanded control of this region marked in green. The West T-150 made a very fortuitous move to the entrance area and pin the East VK behind the Rock. At the same time, the KV-13 had moved to the temple corner and had the VK pinned under crossfire from an alternate direction. Importantly though, the West team did not tunnel on this one particular tank and kept their options wide open, particularly in enabling cells to reposition in response to the enemy flank. The key moment of the game is the West team's reaction to the East team's flank, blocking their entrance into the temple area at this point by bringing superior firepower and the use of hard cover and focus fire on the enemy mediums. It's possible to speculate that other approaches may have led to a different outcome in the game even after the YOLO of the KV-1S. One possibility may have been using the T-150 at the position near the Rock, exerting pressure on the cap rather than the VK, which is a faster tank and maybe could have contributed more efficiently to the flanking maneuver. The position at the Rock itself was highly advantageous in hindsight to the East team. While the VK was pinned there, it was doing an extremely effective job at distracting 2 and at times 3 guns from the battle itself, regaining numerical supremacy for the East team for that period of time. The key to the East flank itself may have been getting past that first entrance undetected, so perhaps a more effective approach would have been to blow straight past that first entrance or to use a wider line or a line slightly lower down the slope to avoid detection. Once past that first gap, there would have been opportunities to use the hard cover provided by the buildings, as well as getting toward the rear of the enemy heavies in the temple area itself. While there were mediums in crossfire positions near the bridges, a additional position in the E1, E2 area could have provided critical crossfire into the flank, getting them past that initial entrance into the area of the temple where hard cover is located could have provided plenty of opportunities for extreme harassment of the Western heavy tanks. And upon such minor observations do battles turn. Thanks for watching this episode. I'd like to thank my Toriari clanmates for providing gameplay footage. as well as the couple unsuspecting public volunteers. Please like the video, share it or comment. That really helps give the channel a boost. Let's roll out. And remember, whatever you do, explode the potato, don't be the potato.